Hello, everyone. This is Beasley Eel, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about a character who is not a well-known character, but apparently from the DC universe, who apparently is making a comeback into the comics. Um, his original name is called Mr. Bones. For those of you who don't know who that is, he was a former low-level supervillain. His original name was Robert Todd, who then later became Mr. Bones. Um, let's talk about him as a whole. So Dr. Benjamin, also known as Amos Love, a gynecologist that injected 6 pregnant women with an experimental mutagenic drug, which got all of the women to give birth to a metahuman child. Metahumans are just superpowered beings. Dr. Love kidnapped the infants and raised them himself, never allowing them to leave the house. All what the children could learn was from the books, radio, and television. The 6 later found out what actually happened, and they decided to kill him. And Bones himself took Dr. Love out into the desert alone to kill him with his cyanide touch. However, the doctor begged for his life. Bones felt pity for him and let him go. Bones later showed the rest of his family the grave of Dr. Love. After supposed death of Dr. Love, taking their cue from the superheroes that they watched on television, the 6 created costumes to go with the names of Dr. Love, giving them calling their names the Helix, their superhero group called the Helix. So apparently, the Team Helix kidnapped the this particular Infiniter Fury in an attempt to extort money. Although they were defeated by Fury's teammates, Infinity Inc., Helix managed to escape. Later, the second Wildcat learned that she was in fact cousin of a Helix new member, and that they were both products of the same genetic experiment as Helix. The two teams battled to a stalemate, and Mr. Bones was arrested while the others escaped. Later, Mr. Bones was released, by prison by Dr. Love. One of the Helix members turned against them and kidnapped Mr. Bones. In the ensuing struggle, that person stabbed a long piece of metal in the last-ditch effort um, of Bones' leg off, and then died from cyanide poisoning. Excuse me. To make sure Bones got medical care, Helix turned themselves to the authorities. Mr. Bones received an artificial leg. It helped him recover from his injuries, and and they made amends because of it. So Infinity Inc. Since they were minors, an informal court hearing was held to determine the fate of the members of Helix. It was found that Mr. Bones had too much negative influence on them. Infinity Inc. was given custody of Bones, while the rest of the Helix would receive treatment. For most of this time, the Infinity Inc. Mr. Bones was not a member of the team, even though he took an active part in their adventures and became a hero in his own right, and was eventually accepted by most of the Infinitors. During the wedding of Hector and Lyta Hall, Harlequin used a deception to have Bones and Skyman meet at Solon Grundy's room. She then deceived Solon Grundy into grabbing Bones' arm and using him to kill Skyman with his cyanide touch. Wrecked with guilt, Bones left the Infinity Inc. When Dr. Love gained control of Helix and ordered them to kill Bones, Helix instead turned on Love, killing him. Helix then left in disgust, telling Bones he was no longer one of them. The Infinitor, though, granted Bones full membership in their team, but Bones' role in Skyrim's death would end up being instrumental in their disbanding soon after. So later on, he becomes part of what's called the Department of Extra Normal Operations. Now, this particular group is a U.S. department that really goes into making sure that everything's done properly by the superhuman community. He later becomes the director of the local branch in the U.S. department, and it's now called Director Bones. He has times asked various DCU teams for their covert assistance. He's worked with the Justice Society of America, um, and apparently he's harassed them enough that um, Mr. Terrific has asked Mr. Bones to leave them alone. And Mr. Bones has even become a supporting character in Martian the Manhunter. Mr. Bones and the operators of the DEO are featured in a lot of special features in the DC Comics. And after the reality altering events of Flashpoint, Mr. Bones is shown as acting as the DEO director and takes Agent Cameron Chase with capturing Batwoman. Bones now believes himself as Colonel Jacob Kane's illegitimate son, and he captures Beth Kane, sister of Batwoman, and blackmails Blackwoman into agreeing to uncover Batman's secret identity. Batwoman, um, Colonel Kane's murder of Crow's elite primary group, and the heroine Hawkfire fail to rescue Beth, and unfortunately, a compromised Hellfire shoots Bones in the head after he threatens to kill Beth rather than hand her over, um, as, who, as if, sorry, compromised Hawkfire later says that Bones was mentally unbalanced and was not um, Jacob Kane's son. I know I threw a lot at you. I apologize. So anyway, Bones, his powers are definitely weird. Um, he has superhuman strength and endurance. He has invisible skin and internal organs, and his skin exudes a cyanide compound that can actually poison people. Now, he deals with the superhuman community, making sure everything's on the up and up, making sure superheroes don't go on, how do I put this, the bad side. So he's definitely an interesting person. He's normally known for his costume, but lately he's actually an avid smoker, but also he now wears a suit, full-on suit now that he's a director, and it's definitely an interesting sight to see. And apparently he's returning inside the DC Universe comic books, and I'm very interested to see what he does now because he seems like a definitely crazy individual, and I definitely like to know what he's capable of now, and seeing if they change his backstory at all now that he's being brought back into the DC universe. So, Mr. Bones, this has been your character spotlight. What did you guys think? Did you think at all of this character? Are there characters you think that I should definitely be discussing? Please let me know in the comments. As always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is Beastly Eel signing out. Have a good night.